Hold on. I don't hear.
That's because I was muted. So you missed my very energetic good morning. Just how's everybody doing? I am no longer, my desk is now in seated mode because we're at that point of the challenge. No more
You're also in a
standing
completely
desk
different location since yesterday.
No, it's the same location. It's just
You just
we got the Pink Floyd back there, the sword, all that sort of stuff. Just it's 6 a.m, so I'm not standing up. But how is everybody doing in chat? I see that there's still quite a few people who are working on their shots. Some people who have submitted. Anybody get some naps or some sleep? Let's see. How are you doing, Brent?
I'm doing all right. Oh, I don't want to complain about being tired because I certainly wasn't up all night animating.
People immediately just say, look at you, and they're like,
I would have had a big target on my back. But yeah, my brain is not normally used to kind of streaming at this hour, so I will do my best to stay energized. So yeah, I'm very curious. How many submissions do we have at this point?
I think so far, well, the deadline is going to be in a little less than 2 hours. We already have about 100 submissions.
Okay.
So we haven't hit the last minute. Actually, more than 100 now, because we had a little bit of trouble with people being able to log into the website. So and you have to log in to submit your assignment. We went over all that in the almost 24 hours ago. So for those people, we opened up a Google form if they really have to submit through there, just because we don't want people having to miss because of like a tech issue on our end. So more than 100 if we're counting those submissions as well, I'm pretty sure. So
people are using the Google form. Do we know already anyways? Do we know that's because they were having a hard time, or they were nervous and they wanted to use a different method?
We gave them like 90% of people are submitting through the website. So I think people are following, instructions of, hey, only if you really have to, because we really want to feature your submissions on the website and link it to your accounts. So anyways, also, hi, David. I see you in chat.
Is he in there?
So we are back live. Brent, we are now going to be talking about something very, very, very cute with two very, very good artists. And those are the Zooies.
Yes. Yeah. And it's fun because I have been, I saw these characters kind of in their very early conceptions, but a lot, like that was quite a while ago. So a lot has happened between now and then. So this is going to be really fun for me just to get caught up on all that amazing work that was done. So I'll be seeing some fresh progress here. That's, I'm sure, going to be quite amazing. So let's, get into it.
You want to bring in the team?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we have with us Olivier Capi Desiree.
Hey.
Concept artist.
What's up?
For Zooies.
Hello.
How are you doing? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome.
We don't see you.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And then we also have Hanan Nunez, character animator on the Zooies.
Hello.
So these guys are going to be telling you everything about the Zooies. Many of you in chat might not even know what the Zooies are because they just released, I think, a week ago. So it's going to be really cool.
Actually.
2 weeks.
Hot off the press.
You. So see you guys. I'll be in the background.
Hi.
See you later. By the way, I just for those who are paying attention to my confusion earlier, and David, who is in the chat, did point out why I was confused because Vincent's camera was apparently mirrored yesterday, and so I'm not losing my mind. That's the good news. The good news is I'm losing my mind. The bad news is that I wasn't astute enough to pick that up.
I was also confused. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you, Cappy. Good. Okay. So we have some pretty cool stuff to take a look at today. I love these kind of streams because it's very visual. These characters are absolutely adorable. And you've been working on it for quite some time. So why don't you give us a little bit of an intro, both of you, where possible? Like, tell us the conception of this project, why we're doing it, and also, just kind of how it all started would be probably.
Yeah, I guess it's sad because I think it kind of started with me. It's a pretty crazy story. It's just one day, Gail, Jack, and David, they reached out to me through mail. And they just wanted to buy some of the creatures I had posted on mine. So I was doing some creature sketches and I used to post them on Instagram and stuff. And I wanted to buy these creatures. So we went on a call with Gail. And I think it went so well that the next week they came back to me and they started saying, okay, so what if we actually hire you? And instead of buying your stuff, you just like make new ones from scratch.
Right.
So yeah, I guess that's how it started. So we fast forwards like a few weeks, we started walking, and on the first day I do like a page of 30 creatures.
Mm.
I send them, and that's
because
probably
30 creatures, you can easy crank
and
those out in a day, right? Normal people
I
do
know
that.
it sounds like a lot, but I have I have a method to actually find ideas that are
Okay.
very consistent, and I can show you maybe sometime later, but yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to
So-
maybe do a little demo at the end here if we have
Yeah.
time, or you can show us the
So-
process as how
But
you were
it's
able
not
to
it's
kinda get
not it's not too hard, but yeah, it's very consistent, and I just filled a page with 30
Right.
creatures.
Okay.
I send them to the guys, and I actually did this as a test. I didn't
Right.
expect it to actually be green lighted.
Yeah.
So and I sent them to them, and then that's probably when you saw it. Like they showed this to the team.
I
there
do
was a
remember
vote.
seeing it, yeah. But
Yeah, they
what was the mandate? Like when you said you needed to fill out a sheet of 30 little characters,
I can't remember really.
Okay.
Like because it was weird. They came to me. They said, "Okay, keep doing do what you do. Just
Yeah.
be you,
Just-
and we
just-
throw money at you, basically." So
just,
yeah,
you just want
that's
to capture the lightning that is you and put it in a bottle.
yeah.
and that bottle
I
being
don't
a
even know
page.
like how it started. I'm not gonna lie to you. At first, it felt like a scam.
Yeah.
Because at the
Oh,
time it was okay. So I need to clarify. It
I
was
love
during
this.
the time that
This is getting awesome.
NFTs became a big thing. So I was getting mails every day of people
Yeah.
trying
Okay.
to buy things as NFTs as a scam.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So hold on. Maybe it might help for people who don't know who you are. Maybe we could just back up just a little bit to kind of provide
Yeah.
some context here, because this is not just some sort of random cold call here. Like this is kind of what you've been doing for this is you. This is it, like quite
Yeah.
literally. Agora wanted
it's
you
my
to.
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
like when
Because
I'm
you've been
bored,
doing this kind of work for a while.
yeah. So when I'm bored, I just like draw creatures and post them online. Basically, that's what I do. And sometimes they get popular. They get a little bit of buzz, and they end up on
Yeah.
Pinterest, and they
Right.
get shared. And that's
Yes.
I guess how they saw my work.
Right. And this is quite a while ago too, right? So like just to clarify why why your spidey sense might have been ringing and you're like, I didn't even know this was didn't feel like a real thing. This is
Yeah.
kind of like early in the days, like now we've all climatized this idea of people working from home, right? And being
Yeah.
people really remote and having people like connect from all across the globe to get people to do work. So like back then when you were tapped, that might not have been a totally standard thing yet. Now
Yeah.
no one would bat an eye because it's just like it's kind of everyday business.
And not
Right.
only that, also when you think about it, like you have some trust issues when it comes to the industry, because like
Sure.
people come to you to do a job,
Okay.
like no one actually comes to you being super friendly and say, okay, we have money and like just let's have fun, and then
Yeah.
you can pay rent with that.
Okay.
It never happens. It happens, so that's
Yeah.
why I was kind of skeptical, but I still took the bite because it was fun. And
It's not
also
too good to be true, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's I think it's important to note that the meeting I had with Gail like made me really comfortable to work with them. Like
Right.
it was I'm really a feeling guy. I need a good feeling with the peers I work with.
I don't know if
So
everybody
it
on the
pushed me.
stream knows who Gail is. You keep dropping the name Gail.
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
explain who
really?
Gail is?
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
He's
I know who he is, but I don't know if everybody else does.
he's nobody. He's a janitor at Agora. No, actually, I don't even know what he does. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
Gail's one
understand
of
what most of you guys do, by the way. Just so we're clear.
Amazing. That's awesome. So Gail's one of the founding members of Agora, and so
Yeah.
and I believe he does a lot of he focuses a lot on art specifically. And so that would make sense. He would be the one contacting you.
Yeah, he's also an awesome dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's how it
Cool.
started.
That's the genesis. Okay, so can we see, like, and so I mean, and Hanan, I know you're obviously, maybe we can just talk briefly about like how you entered the process, and then maybe we can then start sharing some work so people can start seeing and putting images to what we're all talking about here.
All right. Yep.
Or maybe it makes more sense to take a look at some of these images. That way people get in their head. So by the time we get to you, Hanan, you can sort of like say,
Yeah,
okay,
I come much later.
Okay,
Probably.
let's do that
so,
then.
yeah,
Okay, because you were doing, was it well, we'll let you explain it because I don't want to steal your thunder. Okay, so maybe Vincent, if it's possible, it is now a good time to sort of show some of this stuff that we can sort of speak to it, and then we'll kind of perfect. I love it. Oh, okay. So we don't have the page of 30. So maybe this is a perfect time for Hanan to segue into basically your part of the puzzle here, maybe.
All right. So yeah.
Can we sorry, Hanan? Can we turn down the volume a little bit in the video shares? Just because or just turn it off. That probably makes sense too. Okay, go ahead. All you.
So we like I was just seeing all of those
Amazing
30 creature
illustrations. Yeah.
pages and um then these characters started like get shape
Yeah.
in 3D form
Yes.
and then we started animating it. Like
Yeah.
I was probably one of the first to start like trying to break rigs and stuff and also Marco and Vincent, a bunch of other people. And I I I mean, what is there to say? Like they are super cute. They are
So okay.
super cute.
So
They they
just to fill the blanks really quickly here. So obviously there's a big gap between what Cappy had done, like a page full of amazing illustrations, and then they had to get modeled, then they had to get rigged, and basically where you showed up and hit the scene is like can we breathe some life into these characters? And you were one of the many
Yeah.
people on the team that were like first boots on the ground to animate these adorable characters.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And
Just to
yeah.
clarify.
And then like we started like developing these poses and like these characters are super appealing, so it was very easy to find like very cute appealing idol poses and
Right.
whatnot. So we started building a library and started testing. We had this idea of from the beginning that we wanted to make it kind of I don't know how to say that, but like Discovery Channel
Okay.
type of stuff, like
Yeah.
where your point of view is that you're seeing these creatures from
In the wild.
in the wild, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we started doing that, and the style started to come very naturally too.
Right.
Like different animators were testing like more cartoony stuff, more realistic. So we were definitely it was a very fun process to find the style
Right.
and to start building like the whole team.
So okay, so I have some questions. So the process of trying to to figure out the style and just the way that you wanted to characterize these characters was done in these little vignette style animations that were kind of meant to feel like a small brief moment in the life of a little creature like this. It's very documentary style. Like here we see a Zoomy in the wild, getting ready to
Maybe I
fall
can
asleep
add
after a big
something.
meal. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe
Add as much context as possible.
because the whole discovery thing was a joke.
Okay.
So yeah,
It just
so
joke that
when I was mandated to work on this, I was just tasked to do creature designs, and like we were just going to model them, and then we didn't really know. That's what I guess they didn't really know what they were going for, and because I like to role play sometimes, like I like to imagine I was a kind of a biologist, like doing some research, and I
Yep.
started pitching them like I was making some discoveries, and I started framing them with like some logos, some Discovery Channel logos, Agora Discovery and stuff like that. And yeah, so they started saying, "Oh, we like the idea. Maybe we can start doing actual discoveries." And yeah, so I guess that's how it's translated later into
It's funny.
what's becoming
Yeah.
what they call the mockumentary.
Right.
That is
Right. It's funny that it started as a joke. It's like if this is the discovery process, then why don't we treat it like the Discovery Channel? So what was so if that was the discovery kind of like the phase of just trying to figure out these little characters, what was sort of the end goal? Like what were we, what was the purpose of this assignment? Was it just for the simple sake of doing something adorable and branding a bunch of characters and getting them out there just for people to enjoy?
I guess.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
seems like a good reason to me.
I mean, I don't have much context on
Right.
this. It's a question, I guess, for David.
Probably.
But from my end, what I thought at first, it was maybe like they wanted, like their own IP to give animators and like do something, but they didn't know what yet. It's just maybe to flesh out their animation style, maybe to teach also, maybe
Yep.
to break their like learn to rig and stuff. So I was just thinking it was an asset to be used as a training tool at first. That's how I pictured it. And it's with discussion, it slowly went up and became an actual project, an actual IP.
Right.
That's my-
Right. Yeah. What's some of the stuff has been shared out, right? Like I have seen it on online pop up here and there. Some of this amazing work, just during the development of it. Okay, so I think we're having some trouble with the screen share. So what I've been asked to ask you is if maybe you could share your screen, if you want to
Awesome,
share,
yeah.
if you want to share more work that's
I can
that's
share, yeah.
available. Yeah, and then maybe we can, possibly if you're already sharing, we could also just segue eventually into a little demo, like we talked about. That'd be great.
Let me know. Do you guys see my screen now?
We do not yet. You have to make sure you share it. I won't see it in the background. Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, okay, yeah, awesome. So
Perfect.
that was the actual first sketch I did.
Okay.
Like the first ever sketch I did, like the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then I filled like the page with 30 of those kind of sketches. That's what were the 30 creatures. And that's what actually became also the first winner of the poll. And also the first character we released. So yeah, he's really like the first baby.
Totally.
And so yeah, I was asked to do this at first, and then later on, because like everything went so smooth, I think I was like one day without working on it because they were discussing like, okay, we have to step back. We didn't expect that much yet, and so I just took the time to for myself, like for my own sake, just put the kitten in situation.
Okay.
And that's when I started. I don't have here, but I started adding like the little Discovery Channel logos here and make it look like it's from a screen grab on TV. And that's how the role play started, basically.
Yeah.
So I was experimenting with the style a lot. Like it's not what we have in the show. I mean, in the little videos now.
Yeah,
But
it evolved.
I was more seeing it as more cartoony, stylized style. So yeah, I was just at some point asked by David to do some what they call beat boards. It's kind of like a storyboard, but like I get just a bit from the moment. So yeah, I started doing some of them. Like same thing. They didn't ask me a specific thing. They just say, okay, do something with the creature, and then we'll see what it inspires us.
Right.
So I had a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah. Just come up with moments, little situations. And this situation is sort of like put this cute little cat into a situation that might be a little bit scary, and then you have this giant shadow off camera, and
exactly.
Just come up with whatever random. It's funny because you make it sound easy, but like I think if you put a gun in my head and told me to
easy when
do
you
this.
don't. Okay, it's easy when you don't have when you don't fear the retakes. Like
sure.
You know, like
to tell you to slow down. Just go.
You have an idea, you put it on paper, it's done. You go next, and that's how it went.
You're just going through stuff, and I mean, obviously, you're cherry picking some of the stuff that worked out, but like not everything worked out. I'm sure as you sort of did some of these explorations. When it came to the designs, was there like a method to coming up with like these? Because I mean, they all have this sort of cute, sort of cuddly, almost toy-like kind of shape and form. Was that a mandate? Like, was there some sort of sandbox?
The first sketch they wanted to buy at first was like that. So I was thinking I should start from that. Yeah.
Right.
Also, it's part of the method I use to come up with designs. I always start with a simple shape, the most simple one.
Basically,
and
this is sorry. Go ahead.
If you were to break down a creature to the most simple state, it's like a ball, and it has eyes, it has like 4 limbs, and that's a creature, I do that, and then I add the elements on top. I was also tasked to do some attitudes, some posing for the creature, just for like to give rigging, to try some to break the rig, to try some poses and stuff. So there was a bunch of them where I was just like experimenting with the little cat, and all the other characters, by the way, that are not released, but this one specifically was my favorite. So yeah, a bunch of.
Tell us about this little symbol on his forehead.
I can come back to this when I do the demo.
Okay.
If you want.
Yeah, sure.
And why I make these choices.
So mysterious. I love a mystery. I'll wait for it.
this one is one of my favorite.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was
So
really
good.
trying to feel like it's an actual Discovery Channel screen grab, and I love the segments where you have these hidden night cams.
That's right. Yes, and of course, let us not forget the small little detail of it feeling like infrared camera, right? Where it's like just very high contrast, black and white. That's so funny.
You even have the actual date and the actual time I did this.
That's fun.
So yeah, in retrospective, it was like 3 years ago now. Crazy.
That
Yeah,
is
and sometimes I would also do some quick storyboards, but like just to pitch an idea.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically that's it for the little cat.
Very cool.
That's how much of visual development I was doing for a single creature.
Right. And just I missed this little detail backstage. Hanan, did you have some animation stuff that you wanted to show on the stream too that you could share, or is it we have to get Vincent to share that? Oh,
we do have. Can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
Let me just.
Yeah, I think the idea was to try, but if not, then I think we can fall back.
All right. Yeah, I'll
remember-
try to share my screen.
Sure. That way you could drive. It'll probably feel a bit more natural. Yeah, Cappy, you know I'm a big fan of yours, and I love the just the personality you put into your work is just like like it seems like it's such a subtle, like it seems like an obvious idea now, this cute little moment of looking into like a hidden camera in the forest. But like, I don't know, like it seems obvious until someone actually,
it's also because I always wanted to
fresh idea.
to be a biologist or like an archaeologist or something like that. Like my parents haven't filled the hole I made in the yard because I was looking for fossils.
Right.
So yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. It's just I was doing this for me, and now I'm getting paid. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Do you mind? So a fun fact while we try to get this. Oh, never. I'll come back to it later when you're doing.
Yes.
I have a question for you. All right. So you're driving now, Hanan?
Yeah.
Perfection. Okay. Walk us through this.
So let me hit play and see if it's choppy or not.
Okay.
So we can.
It was really choppy earlier, so anything would be better than what we had earlier.
Let's see.
It's pretty good for me. Hopefully, chat. Are we good? Do you have some decent frame rates?
Cool.
Chat's ignoring me.
So cute, man.
So funny.
Awesome. So, like the just the stills that Cappy was showing us, like all his art was all very, very, very inspiring. So I see that those were used, like if not like 1-to-1, those inspired lots of other animations.
Right.
So I can't wait to people to see it because
Yeah.
everything's so amazing. But here's one of the shots that I pitched the idea. So I got the green light.
This is pretty early in the process as well, as you guys were still kind of coming up with like a pitch of what was going to be done. This was something that one of the first characters that were modeled and rigged,
Yes.
and you kind of hit it, and you said like, this is what we could do with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, so we had like first we had like this list with that probably came from a brainstorm meeting that I didn't participate on, but so we could pick ideas or at least get inspired by and then pitch our own. And I came up with this one. Just because I saw that one of the animators did this animation that looked like reminded me of
like
Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to do something playful like that. So the character finds something that's just mundane and starts playing with it. And
you know what's funny? I watched something like this, like the animation on the character is unbelievably great, but there's this sort of unspoken complex detail in here that it kind of breaks my brain a little bit. Is like the vine is so well animated as well. That's crazy. Was this stuff done like you animated this in what?
In Maya.
It was done in Maya. Okay.
Yeah. And
love how playful he is. It's almost like a weird mix between a puppy and a cat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a dog person, so I guess that
It works though. It works. It totally
reference
works.
shows. Yeah. Um, but it's very like this project, like on the early days, it was very experimental,
Yes.
for me at least. So the way I approached a scene, like I was trying out stuff. Like let's push the rig, see what like works. Like let's see how far we can go with smear frames. Let's see if doubles. Like I started going for double frames. Let me see here, like multiple limbs there, and I'll trying out stuff, and like
Yeah. There's a
I
lot of
would
stuff.
add teeth to
So
to achieve like
you'd
a
add what? Sorry.
better to achieve a better expression here. The
Yeah.
character doesn't have teeth, not like that at least. So
Okay.
I added those there.
Okay. So there's a bunch of cheats in here, a lot of like extra
Yeah,
little details that are not necessarily just coming from animating a traditional rig.
yeah,
So
that's it.
we got multiple limbs too, like in that little crazy part with where he scrambles his legs. Can you slow it down so we can get a better appreciation for that? Because I love watching, I
Yeah.
love looking at that stuff. Like
Um,
just if you scrub around those parts, maybe you
oh,
zoom in
all
a
right,
little bit,
all
it might be a little easier to see.
right. The faster ones, right?
Yeah, yeah. Where you said where you're adding multiple limbs. Oh yeah, I saw a few there.
Around here.
Oh yeah, I see them. I see them. So were the rigs done in a way that you could make visible a couple extra limbs and have them
Um,
show up, or did you have to what? Talk
N-
us through that.
No, it was me
Okay, just
selecting
you
the
hacking it.
geometry and and
Okay, okay, okay,
duplicating
okay.
it.
Well, were
Um,
there? I would imagine there were some pretty big challenges to animate a character that was like so like squat, like so like very round with relatively like short legs compared to its body size.
yeah, yeah.
So like what I'd love to know like how you inspired yourself and how you figured out the body mechanics for something like this. Like what was the thought process there?
So yeah, that's interesting. That's a good question because it's definitely like I struggle
Okay.
when you
The
start like
process
with
was
this
struggling.
character. Is we tend like on my workflow at least, I tend to simplify stuff, but
Right,
this character is super simple already, so
right, right.
I generally try to work like the bouncing ball first, and then I start adding
Okay.
complexity. But what happens on second stage here? I already added
You're
the
done.
bouncing ball.
Yeah, that's
Done.
funny. Well,
uh,
I feel like you're doing a lot of really great limbs sort of stretching as well. Like I think like
yes.
to get good silhouettes on those big pouncy looking strides, you really needed to kind of push those limbs to get a decent silhouette. I can see that, but it works so
Yeah.
well. I mean, luckily the art direction of the character kind of screams it wants that, very squashy and stretchy. So you're getting
Hmm.
away with that without that feeling weird at all. It just feels so awesome. I love the way he
Yeah. And
ferociously tugs
it's
at that vine at the beginning. So awesome.
and it's like the accomplishment of another team members that came before me and like realized, well, stretching the paws here work nice when he's
Yeah.
striding. Then I just started incorporating stuff that I watched before and knew it worked.
Cool.
And yeah,
I'm getting pinged by backstage here that they were asking if we could go back to I think that was it the TikTok videos. Do you have access to that?
yes.
They said, can we go back to it, but have you drive? I think was what I was asked. Is it
I
possible?
drive the sync sketch. The sorry,
Hold on, it
the
says I'm being asked
TikTok.
to. Yeah, could we go back to the TikTok again, but have
Yeah, because you
an
have a
on-screen
better
share?
frame rate.
Yeah, that's right. So
Oh,
like I think
all
because we
right,
tried to
I'll
show
do
it
it.
earlier, but the frame rate was really bad. So we're assuming that your connection is going to do a better job at doing that. And we want to make sure people get a good look at these awesome animations because before they were a bit of a slideshow.
All right. Um, let me let me see
Can we
what
can
I
we take his screen share off really quickly while he finds it, please? backstage? Thank you. It makes it reduces my anxiety when I know I have what I want showing before we put it up in front of the entire world. So wanted to save you from that anxiety. Maybe I'm all alone on that.
Oh no, dude. Same.
Oh no, dude.
You have no idea.
Yeah, no, I have some idea. Sadly, it stresses me out. Oh,
Oh,
and
it disappeared.
Hanan is
Oh.
now vanished into the night. I don't know what happened. So I think we're gonna probably have time for that little demo. I'd like to try to get through some of these, maybe get a good look at some of those
Alright.
animations, and then I think it'd be great. And
I try my best to be quick.
yeah, well, because we want to leave a teeny little bit of room, because it sounds like we might even have a guest star coming in at the end. I think that David might be able to pop in here and talk a little bit about the bigger picture, higher level,
Okay,
about what
so-
the Zoomies are about. So
I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can you give me a word, like any random word?
a random word. Let's take from chat. So chat, whoever's listening, give us a random word, and then you can pick your favorite random word. Does that sound fair?
Okay, let's go.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see some random words. Does it have to be like a verb or a noun or an adjective? Do you
I
care?
mean, as
Anything?
long as it's a thing, I guess
Oh, a
it's
thing.
fine. It's,
So a
it's just
noun.
like to start, because like the
Okay.
page is blank. I need to start with something.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, so we want a random noun, everybody. A
Potato. Okay, let's go for
good.
potato. Okay, so we have
All right.
potato. So what I usually do is I try to break it down into some words that make me think of it, kind of like a lexical field, you know?
Yep.
So when I see potato, I'm thinking like fries, French fries.
And we'll come back to you, by the way. We just we didn't know how long you were going to be gone, so we just kind of ran with it. We'll
I'm
come
thinking
back.
also about the toy. I don't remember
Potato
what's
Head,
the name.
Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, Mr. Potato Head. I'm just writing toy because that's what I thought at first.
You're just free association right now. You're just like, what do I think about when I think of potato? Okay, cool,
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking about computer, because like this expression.
Yeah,
potato,
yeah, I got a potato. Yeah,
Like,
people complain when you're too long.
I'm just
and
trying
loading.
to find connections, basically.
Sure, free association,
then-
100%.
And then I do that again, but like
Okay.
individually. So French fries.
You branch out.
Yeah, so I would do like burger, for
I
example.
love this. Yeah, whatever comes to your mind when you think of French fries, you think of burger.
A toy, I would think maybe, I have no idea, like a robot.
Okay.
Okay. And then a computer, I'm thinking electricity.
Okay. You're just going with the first thing that pops in your brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's basically my prompt.
Okay. You're like the original AI.
Yeah. That's the box.
Yeah.
And that's thinking outside of the box.
Okay.
So when I have this, usually what I do, I just try to break them down into visual, visual icons.
Yep.
Like if I were to ask you to draw a heart, you would just do this, and
Don't
not
make
actually
assumptions.
draw
My
the
heart wouldn't
organ.
look as cool as that, but okay.
Yeah, but so I'm just trying to find some cool ways, simple ways to showcase the concept. So like a burger to me is this. Maybe there's a salad. A robot that's gonna be this. And electricity. Oops.
Yeah, the go-to icon.
Yeah, and then I just start with my template. Like I told you, it's just like a ball, a sphere with some legs. And I give him eyes. And that's a creature. That's like the most basic creature I can think of.
Yep.
I'm just going to double down here. And then I just try to translate without thinking some of these elements here.
Right.
Like the visual elements. For example, this, I don't know.
All right. Oh, man. Got a lightning bolt tail.
Okay, I'm doing Pikachu now.
Exactly.
We don't have any issues with that. Like, the little antenna here. Like the salad like this, I could maybe have, give him some season seeds.
Oh my god, that's so amazing!
And
of course,
once I have this, I can just remove my brainstorming and just stop thinking about all of that and just start redrawing this.
Right, like finding shapes and forms that are a bit cleaner, and like you're translating it into something.
Yeah,
that
and
makes
now
sense better.
It's all about execution.
Yeah. It's like taking a kid's drawing and then turning it into a real drawing, basically.
Yeah.
I love watching that stuff, by the way.
I could actually give him 2. And
That little
things.
that sphere with like a stick was like that like it was an olive with like a toothpick, like we see sometimes on hamburgers. Is that what that was?
No,
What
but
was
it
this?
could be like it was the robot antenna.
Oh, the robot. Okay, I couldn't remember where it came
But
from.
it could actually
Doesn't matter,
be,
right? At this point,
Yeah.
That's
It's
the whole
just about
idea.
finding a connection, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
and I give him back his little tail here. It's fine if like you lose some of this connection because no one's gonna know about this.
Yeah, that's it. It's like it just got you to some shapes basically
Yeah,
that
and
you
now-
can play with.
Like it took me 5 minutes and I
Yep.
just fill a page with 30
Unbelievable.
of this. And for same thing for the colors, like I could do the same process and just find some colors. Okay, so French fries, yellow, burger, it could be beige or something like that. Like I just go with the flow basically. And
Yes.
then from that I can expand because it's easier when you start with this. Like
Okay.
if I were to ask you what was the first word that spawned the kitten, what would you guess?
Oh man, looking at the kitten. Well, I know that this is. I think you're going to tie it back to my question about the symbol on the forehead. So it might have been one of the questions, right?
So let me.
I've been
draw
paying
this.
attention. I
Let me
understand
draw
the
him
assignment.
again. So he's like that. It's something like that, right?
Yeah.
So the first word was
Interesting.
crocodile,
Okay.
and
Interesting.
I went Nile, like the river.
Yes.
I went. How did it go?
It's amazing that you remember this.
Yeah, I went Pharaoh. How do you pronounce this? Pharaoh. Like the Prince of Egypt.
Oh yeah, Pharaoh. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and then from that I also got cat.
Oh, you went even further. That's how you
Cat,
get the cat.
because like how
you
they
were
worship
obsessed
cat.
with cats. Yes. 100%.
And so when you think about a pharaoh, usually they have a helmet with like shapes like this.
Yep.
And then on them you have the stripes.
Yes.
And-
so the ears
and-
came from that. Interesting.
Yeah, a cat is pretty easy. Like it's this.
This is a fun forensic breakdown on how you got to that design. It's
And the
crazy.
crocodile part, I don't think anyone noticed it, but like when you have a crocodile face,
Yeah.
what happens is like they have an eye here, and their
Yes.
mouth go past the eye here,
Yes.
and then you have like a little volume on the cheek, and that also translates in the baby cats here and there.
Man.
And so yeah, that's how like it all
Okay.
started, and for all
Okay.
the creatures in the show.
So
basically.
in other words, this is basically when I reacted with great astonishment to the idea of you in a day filling out a page of 30,
Yeah.
having watched you basically under 10 minutes put together. Well, it was actually more like 5 minutes, I think. Put together. Obviously you haven't colored it or anything like that yet. It was just a cute little sketch.
Yeah.
But I can imagine a world where 30 isn't actually that big of a crazy. Would you do a 30 in a day? Are there some that get thrown away because you just don't like them, or is that like, or do you force yourself to be like, no, we keep everything 30?
When they get thrown away, they get thrown away in the process. Like let's say I don't like this idea, I would just like erase and try something new,
Yes.
And that's how like I just change it until I like it, and then I pitch it. I don't
That's so
actually
cool.
throw the whole idea because it's just a bird,
Yeah.
a bird with legs. So yeah, that's the idea.
Very cool. I'm sure the chat really appreciated sort of peering into your mad genius brain and just to see how you're coming up with this stuff. I certainly did. I think it's so simple, the process, and you make it look way easier than it probably is, I'm sure, because you're obviously quite the draftsman. So you're able to like take an idea and just kind of put it together really quickly. But I find that often everyone can take the time to learn how to draw. The real tricky part is how to leverage the creativity that's like a process that allows you to get somewhere, to give you a purpose to those drawings. And I think
also,
that's really enlightening what you just showed us.
I just want to add, if you guys want to try this method, you don't have to draw. Like you can do this while skirting, you can do this while
totally,
like even doing Legos,
but
you can build any idea with that.
Full disclosure, this is patented, this process. So if you use this process, you have to put money in a jar, okay? Because it goes to Cappy. So just know
you
that.
have to
You're allowed to use
also.
it.
Yeah.
And you have to what?
you have to pray. But basically what you were saying.
Yeah, that's all good. So thank you for that. Hanan, now that you're back, do we solve the screen share situation so you can show some of those animations?
I'll try to share the.
Amazing. Let's give it
I'll
a shot.
try to share TikTok, right? Is that
Yeah, that's why I think they wanted to at least see the videos that were on TikTok that were being attempted to be shared earlier. I think
right.
that was the plan.
So I started sharing.
Yeah.
So
That's way better. Yeah. Way better. It was a slideshow before, and it's like there's so much detail in these animations. It was sort of sad to not be able to appreciate it.
You guys have to imagine my shock because like I did the sketches.
Yes.
2 years, we fast forward, we come back to this, and I'm like, what? Wait, it's actually a thing, like
yeah,
it's fully rendered. It looks like a movie. It's beautiful background, like it's some effects and stuff.
And capturing
is amazing.
Yeah, and very doing a really good job capturing the energy and the personality that were in those original drawings. Like it's very clear that the animators really took that to heart and were super inspired by it. So that must have also feel very, very good.
Amazing, dude. I love it.
Yeah, and the loop so satisfying.
So satisfying. It did everything you guys do, because I think they were all kind of designed to be able to go out on social media. And so, like, even that first test you showed Hanan earlier with the vine, it looped as well, which I thought was super impressive. So it's like, was that a thing that everything that was going to be animated, it should feel like a loop?
Not always.
No? Okay.
Like from the start, we wanted things to be short and concise. So, but yeah, then some people started making loop, and it worked, and it was very satisfying.
Right. So when possible, you guys basically made it loop, but it wasn't.
Yeah. So not always, but yeah, a bunch of them loop for sure.
Yeah.
Can you see the other tab here?
Yeah, let's take a look at this one. We can see it. I'm looking for it's funny because you know what I'm doing right now? I'm like, because Cappy filled my head with all these design elements, I'm like looking for them, not just in the design of the character, but I'm looking at how the animator then took some of those ideas and tried to do something with it, like I could see that crocodile shape now. It's like,
and you can also see he has the little squares on his paws,
yes,
how sometimes crocodiles, they have a grid in their scale, and some of the scales are darker. So yeah, also translated.
Details. Love it. Was there a third video? I felt like there was a third video.
It's an image.
There
it's a still image.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Okay,
it's
just
a still image. Yeah. So this the
cool. Okay, well, I mean, keep the TikTok up. We're gonna inject some surprise guest energy into this room right now. We're gonna have Agore's very own David Hubert come in and talk a little bit about high level goals, why this was even done, what kind of crazy mad scientist experiment this is, and the why behind the what. Hello, David.
Hey guys.
Hey guys. Hey David.
Hey Cappy, Renan. All right, that was a pretty cool stream. I've been there for the entire time. It's crazy to think that what Cappy mentioned when Gael and I reached out to him, that was literally 4 years ago. I had
that scam email, you mean? The scam email reaching out to...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this classic email of we just cross our fingers and we hope that they don't think that we're a scam.
Yeah, totally.
And it was coming from... Agora was already providing services, and we were at a point that say, hey, I think it's the kind of entrepreneur midlife crisis at some point that like, hey, we were creators and we're just running a business. How about that would be fun to be creative again. So we started to have this idea of, hey, maybe creating our own things, creating our own IP. And then we started to just look at ArtStation for just inspiration and just fueling the conversation, which led to find a few artists that were like, oh my God, those artists are amazing and have a lot of great characters that probably are just going to collect dust in ArtStation. So it was this idea of, instead of just designing our own characters, because we definitely did that as well, why don't we just reach out and associate ourselves with some artists that already have characters that they might like to bring to life. And this is when we reached out to 2 or 3 artists, and Cappy was one of them. One thing led to another. We had this lineup of super cute creatures that he had designed. And then like, okay, we love all 30 of them, but it's not realistic to create and animate them all. So we ran a little survey on Agora community. Hey, who are your favorite? And I like 6 of them reached out, and our little baby cat here was like the number 1 on the list, and then there was a few. So then it's like, okay, we have some design. What do we do now? Well, maybe if we want to create an IP, there's maybe different variation of each breed. That's the baby version that is always like a ball, but there's probably also the adult and the teenager. So then work with Cappy to design the baby, teenage, and adult version of each one of them. And then like, okay, well, might as well now let's create them in CG. And it was also a way for us, because the team started to grow, which may mean that we had some people in between production. It's like, oh, well, if we have those designs on the sides, and hence why it took 4 years, as soon as someone that is qualified to do the modeling or do the texturing or do the fur or do the rigging, let's get them started. So they started to be created over time, and then eventually we had those rigs. So like, okay, well, now let's animate them. So again, when we had some animators in between project, they started to test those. And one thing, and we always kept it super organic, like even for animators, there was not like clear like storyboards or idea. It was literally like, hey, if you have an inspiration, just do something. If you're completely uninspired, here's a list of like 50 bullet points of random ideas, but otherwise just go crazy and do whatever you want. And sometimes the results were amazing, and we ended up with a total, I think today we have way more than 100 animation total that are done with those, with those creatures. So then it was like, okay, well, might as well render them. So then came the time, okay, what is the environment? What is this? And so, oh shit, we don't have a rendering pipeline. So let's build a rendering pipeline to be able to do all of those. So that was basically an excuse to just be able to, over 4 years, go from, let's think of an original idea, to have a full production pipeline to be able to release those episodes on a weekly basis. Coming back to the distribution strategy, because it was also something that we knew that, the short form on social media that will be consumed on phone, this is probably where we should go to maximize distribution. But at the same time, we don't even have the bandwidth to do a full short film. So if we just do short animation, we'll be able to release them more rapidly. So this is where the short format ended up being favored, even if Renan already participated with Marco Foglia. Both of them animated like almost a full short, I think, well, super short, like maybe 1.5 minutes. I don't think it's completed, but definitely it will be eventually, and it will be released. But we're just starting. Let's start 10-15 seconds clip. Let's go on vertical format. And then, yes, there's some of those animations I was like, hey, that's loopable. And for some reason, we keep watching those loops internally, and we don't get tired of it. So then it was like, oh, what if we don't create some of those loops? And then, of course, and on top of that, the algorithm really likes when the viewers are looking at animation in loops. It kind of triggers the algorithm to say, hey, this is pretty cool, because on average, everyone watch it like 2 or 3 times instead of just.
Yeah, it's right. It's because the algorithm it measures, did you watch the whole video? Or just a part of it. And in this case, people, if they detect there might be a loop there, they might actually watch that one little video clip 5-6 times, which probably make the algorithm go crazy. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So it was, again, another happy accident. And at that, when we realized that we had maybe at least 40 animation that was already done. So then we did the exercise of, okay, 2 things. All of those animation were not necessarily meant to be loopable, and they were done on a horizontal format. So then it's like, okay, let's revisit all of them, and every animation that is possible to loop and to put on a vertical format, let's do it. And I would say the vast majority, like 90% of them, we made them loopable. And even those, there are some that we needed some cheats. Like the first one, it's a fixed camera, but the the lore is that it's an explorer. It's probably Cappy in another world that is just visiting his own world, and with his phone he's capturing. So there's a lot of handheld phone that are going to film. So sometimes we just cleverly focus, oh, a butterfly, oh, and then we come back and it's the cat that is coming back.
Right.
So it kind of creates a seamless
kind of
loop.
create a
And
wipe for the loop.
yeah, and even in VFX, we had to thought about it. If baby cat is falling in the snow, that creates a little path in the snow. So the path needs to be there ahead of time if you don't want it to disappear and reappear, or it's going to end up being just out of screen. So when you come back, it's not there and it's had. So we had a lot of little tricks. And even the simplest details, if you look there, it's looping seamlessly, but even the snow is looping seamlessly.
Yeah,
so you can
I was
imagine with
looking for that.
simulation,
Yeah.
and
That's so
don't
awesome.
want to spoil too much, but eventually there's water in there. So all the ripple has to loop as you come back into this 10 seconds. So it was a lot of very fun, creative decisions that we had to make along the way to make it work.
Was it all put out on TikTok, or were there other platforms that it went out on?
TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts.
Okay, right. Anything that had the vertical format.
Yes, exactly. And I would say right now, at first we thought it would work. And again, we just started. This is literally the second clip that's been released. So we already have a lineup for 2 years of release if we keep on a weekly basis. And we're already working with Cappy to create kind of extra additional content to increase the release. The release date.
So what kind of numbers are we seeing then? I assume they're pretty good, considering if you were like, oh man, it's really doing well, this loopable format. I assume that it's getting some decent eyeballs. Like
I would say what on YouTube and on Instagram it's doing as we expected it would do. So that's great. But on TikTok it completely exploded, which is not what we expected. The second clip is, I think, today at like 1.6 million, not even after a week.
That's so cool.
Which grew our TikTok account from no one to 15. I didn't check the numbers, probably we have them here, but like above 15. There was 600, 170,000 which is a crazy high number.
That's a really
if you compare to the amount of views. So for some reason the algorithm got totally triggered very rapidly. Not the first day, but on the second morning, it's Thibaut, our producer, say, hey, look at the numbers. We went from 30,000 to 38 super rapidly, and we're like, oh my god, 38,000, that's crazy. But then it just started to get to a point that when we were refreshing, it was like 1,000 per minute.
Oh man, that's exciting.
So that was like okay, that's definitely not going to happen every time. Let's not set our crazy expectation, but it just says that okay, there's something in the formula that we've created that is working.
Which I'm sure inspires some confidence, considering you had like this roadmap of rolling out more of these. So it'll be very interesting to see which ones do better than others.
Yeah, and, I mean, just like Dragana's presentation was super interesting yesterday. It's really about you release them, you look at the metric, and you see what is working and what. So we thought that we would have to tweaks like from the thumbnail to the moment that we release it to the description to this, and maybe. So seeing that the second one worked this well, we're definitely going to look at, okay, and especially if others are not working as well, say, okay, what made this one stand out more specifically? And already something that Dragana mentioned yesterday that was already in our radar, you need to attract attention within 3 seconds. And this one is working well because right away you see it and there's something. But we have other loop that, let's say the baby cat might be sleeping for 5 seconds and it used to start like this. So now we're just going to move the loop so the animation actually starts from the moment that he's waking up, and then it's going to end with the sleep, which is not the logical choices from narrative standpoint, but is probably going to work much better for people that are just scrolling rapidly.
Totally. Yeah. I like this other side benefit that you mentioned. This and I think this is really notable for people who are also maybe aspiring to make a little short film or something like that. It's just, like you already kind of indicated that Agora, because when Agora started, you guys were focusing mostly on animation services, right? Yeah. And the goal was eventually, why don't we grow that out to, or why don't you guys grow that out to the point where you tackle just about anything, and fast forward to releasing your first short film, Transfer, putting it out there in the short film market. Like, these little projects and just going forward and just doing it, forced your hand to just fill those gaps, basically. Like we need a pipeline to do a thing, because if we want to do these other things, and so I love this idea of it's such a contained, very scalable project that really led to unlocking much bigger, more complicated projects as well, which is fun.
Yeah, and that's something I discussed a lot with Harren and Jalil as well from Steamroller, because they're in a very similar situation. They just went completely all in. Let's do a 20 minutes high quality short film, and we're like, hey, let's start with 10 seconds loop. But it's the same mindset that, well, first we do, our primary business is to offer services. So when we show this to current or upcoming client, the first reaction is like, you guys don't just do animation? I'm like, no, we actually do a lot of other things now. So it's a very great calling card, let's say. Both with Steamroller, I would totally understand any investor or distributor to say, okay, you guys please make my next animated feature, because clearly you have proven that you can do it. So there's this element, but the other element of, hey, maybe eventually we'll make the feature or the series and all that, it's very much the mindset of let's put this in the open. Let's see what the audience think about it. And if we consistently have millions of views, not only are we able to adjust along the way based on the feedback that we have, but also it can eventually maybe prove to investors that, hey, there's already interest. So we don't have to guess if this idea and those character in this world is going to work. It's already working on those different platforms. So maybe we might be interested, or we are less afraid to invest in this type of IP in the future.
Right. Do you remember, like, going back in time and looking at some of these first tests that Cappy was doing, like the designs, and then Hanan kind of taking a first crack at the animation? Like what were your initial reactions when you saw these things come to life?
I was a Renan, and I mean, we had so many great animators, but Renan was definitely among the first animation that, like, oh my god, this is so appealing, this is so cute. So it was really pinching ourselves, that being convinced that it's going to work, but at the same time being convinced that we don't know this world completely. So maybe it's amazing for us, but the rest of the world won't really care. So it's easy to inverse engineer after that. Yes, of course, we did those 12 things very well. So this is why it's working. But again, it's a science that we don't know yet. It completely exploded on TikTok. It did almost nothing on YouTube. On YouTube, like, our first clip was way more popular than this one. So it's like, okay, so just learning how each platform are working. It's really the beginning of our journey. But we know that for sure at this point we're going to release one of those every week, at least for 2 years period of time.
Oh, that's exciting.
And then we're going to work on additional content as we.
Well, stay tuned, everybody. So it must at least feel very vindicating that you felt like you had some magic here early on. Like this, like you said, the project started 4 friggin' years ago. And so to get to the point now where you're able to start putting this stuff out and seeing that it is resonating with people, must feel pretty awesome for all three of you. So, and all the other, obviously there's a lot of people who are not on the stream right now who contribute to this. But so, like, I'm sure it's a giant group effort that, and I hope everyone is very proud. Okay. Well, I mean, thank you, David, for popping in. That's very cool. That was a nice little surprise. I didn't know that was going to happen. So that's great. We should probably wrap things up, because I know that Vincent wanted to come in and sort of put the fear of God in everybody with the approaching deadline. And so I'm going to basically let her do that. So thank you very much. Hanan, I always want to call you Cappy, because Cappy is just like, it's in my brain. So
it's also easier. So
that's fair. And David, thank you all for being on the stream.
Actually, I'll stay here because I'm hosting the next one right after. So look at that. Perfect segue.
So convenient.
Wow.
Okay, well then I guess we have to give Cappy and Hanan the boots then. Thank you both.
Bye,
Thank you, guys. Have a nice one. Bye.
Brent, why are you so quiet all of a sudden?
I don't know, because I didn't know if I was going to get smoke bombed or not, but it looks like the wizard behind the curtain has decided to keep me in here. Hello.
We have Any wizards behind the curtain? Okay, give me a
So
second.
many
I need to
wizards.
put the bod.
You should all be
Chat on
wearing. Well, you
Discord.
have a
Huh?
bright yellow hat. That's kind of like a wizard hat.
Yeah, it's got
call
the
it a
Gore
wizard
logo,
hat.
and I got my Gore shirt on. Good
You
branding.
do.
But yeah, that was a super cool conversation. We've seen the Zoomies be developed for multiple years within Agora, and everybody's super excited to actually see it out in the wild now.
Yeah, totally.
So before we go into the next segment, this is just a reminder for everybody watching that we now officially have 1 hour until the final deadline for the 24-hour Ultimate Anim Challenge. After that deadline hits, nothing will be accepted, no exceptions. It is possible that we are having some issues on the website where people can't log in sometimes with Gmail or their native email address. If that's the case, we sent an email with instructions of some tech troubleshooting you can do, some other things you can do. But if that doesn't work, there is also a link to a Google form that you can submit your shot through instead. But please only do that if you really cannot submit on the website. By submitting on the website, you're helping out our team because we can more easily link the animation to your account, display it on the website, and make sure that we know that it was you who animated the shot. So just a heads up, you got an hour left. You all are doing fantastic. It's going to be great. And now we are going to be going into a segment about developing IP in the Web3 space. And it's going to be between David Hubert and Nick Cabana, who is backstage. And now we're going to bring him on stage.
See everybody in an hour. Bye. Good luck.
Bye, Brent. All right.
Are we live?
Nick, see you again. And we are live. Are you ready for this?
Let's go. I saw you it feels like yesterday, but
I
yeah,
know.
I was super stoked to be here. I know the feeling of doing 24-hour kind of sprints. It's so funny. I was telling Vince when I was at Animation Mentor, and it was usually my fault, but every time we had to submit something, I think it was on Sundays, I would do a 24-hour session every single time. So I feel for everybody that's doing that right now.
Yeah, I remember having done many of those as well, where you just bring the coffee pot nearby and you just drive on pure motivation and caffeine until you crash. So pretty good. So well done to everyone that are still there. You still have an hour to go. So make the best of it. All right, Nick. So let's get this started. There's a lot that is changing nowadays in the industry, both on the investment side of thing, production, distribution. I personally, this is an industry I've been in for 25 years, and I've seen a lot of evolution over 25 years. But I would say this level of rapid change that we have right now is something, and let's say in the past, 2-3 years is something I've never seen before. So there's 3 topics that I'd like us to cover. First of all, of course, IP creation in 2025. Also the Web3 NFT space and how this might impact, how it might change the game. And if we have time a little bit towards the end, talk a little bit about AI and how that's also going to impact content creation. So before we dive into it, for those that do not know who Nick Cabana is, give us your 2 minutes elevator pitch. So, and let's start as when young Nick Cabana thought about CG animation, and just before the Clinosaur era of your career.
Oh man, Dave, it's the worst part every time. I think it's when every artist treads. And I'm gonna try to be faster in the whole presentation too. I saw Jorge yesterday. He just murked through his. It was insane. I don't know how many slides he had. Oh man, Nick. So I saw Jurassic Park when I was about 6, and that changed everything for me. I was always I loved being transported in different worlds when I was watching movies. Really influential movies for me was definitely Jurassic Park. I got addicted to dinosaurs, but things like 5-0 Goes West, Littlefoot, a lot of kind of epic scale movies, even Jaws, which made me terrified of swimming anywhere because I was so young. But I was super into movies, and I knew I wanted to do something involved with storytelling, movies. And at the time, I always thought I wanted to be a director. For the longest time, I grew up I was the kid that was always drawing in class. I was doing like little flip books, on like inside the math books and things like that. I was terrible at math, which I'm sure most of us in this industry are. That's why we go to film school. And eventually, I did apply to at university. I applied to like production or to the film school. It was at Concordia, and they only took like I think at the time they were only taking like 16 to 20 students. And it was like a Hail Mary. It's like the only thing I applied to because I wanted to be a director. But I only had drawings and I had After Effects stuff from things I was doing on the side by watching YouTube videos. If anybody remembers like Video Copilot, I was like super into that. But my portfolio was not the right one for film production, which is like live action filmmaking. So I got rejected naturally from a really exclusive program, and it was like my only plan. And so I get a rejection, and eventually I get a message back from them like, hey, why don't you try animation? Like we have another exclusive program, it's the animation program. Your portfolio is perfect. So like, okay, why not? So I gave it a shot. And it's funny because it's kind of like, of course I knew what animation was. I was already doing flip books, but I never really thought about it until the first day when I go there, and you've got like the year 2 and year 3 students. They're all like on their light box tables doing like flipping. It was like old school traditional animation. It's basically like what Disney was doing. And I was like, oh my God, like I think I could do this. I could totally do this. Um, so I did that. I did about 2 years in university until I, spoiler alert, dropped out to do Animation Mentor because I felt that in university it was a little bit too experimental. And it wasn't really a training program for, I wanted to do like Pixar and DreamWorks. Like that's what I wanted to do, like character animation. Um, and so eventually I did Animation Mentor. It changed everything for me. My first gig was at Sony Animation, and then also ImageWorks. So basically, at the start of my career, got pretty fast into the visual effects side of things and creature work, which made sense because I was like so into like Jurassic Park, right? And and then from that point on, I just kind of got deep into VFX animation. So went back home when MPC started. Rest in peace. uh, and we were like one of the first like 20 people there, like not just 20 animators, like 20 like people at the company in Montreal, which like 2 years later it was like a 2,000 person company. But I basically focused on a lot of creature work. That was my passion. Eventually, I became an animation supervisor. So my first experience supervising was at Rodeo, which if anybody knows, Rodeo is a native Quebec company, but incredible boutique studio. Not boutique anymore. At the time, it was. And I got to supervise Game of Thrones. I was like a super Game of Thrones nerd and fan. I loved the TV show, and it's really what kind of hooked me to go work there. And it was an amazing experience. And then after that, I worked on a slew of projects, like things like Paddington 2, the Fantastic Beasts franchise. I've worked on, I've led teams on things like Suicide Squad, so we got an Annie nomination for that. I worked on Jurassic World, which that was like such a huge moment for
That was
me.
the I made it moment.
Yeah, I was such a nerd. Like I remember like going on the airplane on the way to Vancouver to go help. It was at Image Engine, so it was like Image Engine and ILM was working together, and I knew I was going to be on Team Raptors, and I was so pumped. And it's so cheesy, but I was like blasting the original song like in my headphones on the airplane there. And now I think about it, I'm like, oh, cheesy. But at the time, I remember like, the first time you open your Maya scene and you have a raptor in there, and it's like an official Jurassic Park raptor. And the first thing I do naturally is like grab the jaw of the rig and I just open it really quick, as most animators would do. And then, in my career, I've also worked with, usually with like buddies, on things like music videos. So I worked with Kate Tronada. We got a bunch of awards for that. If anybody remembers, it's the music video where he dances like with a robot. All of that was done in Montreal, like super guerrilla style. Um, and and yeah, and then eventually, COVID hit, and I was already reaching a point in my career where I was like, man, something feels weird in the industry, and something feels like, we were having a lot of chats as we do, and I know that you have as well with your team. It's like, streaming is here. It feels like we're in like a weird implosion moment. They're taking less and less risk on fresh content. And COVID made me very introspective, and and at the time I kind of got into I was very kind of curious on new technologies, and I'm just a curious personality, and I started to explore things like Web3, specifically digital collectibles and NFTs. I was less into like the whole like crypto and blockchain thing, and I was more into just the act of like collecting things digitally. And I deep dove, and flash forward, years later, Claynosaurus is very much a thing and a whole like full-fledged company, and we're heading towards making this as global a franchise as we can.
Yeah.
And it's been wild. So I guess I'm here to talk about that today.
All right. So
I tried to keep it short. I didn't.
It was 10 instead of 2, but I see that you did a lot of effort to skip a lot of details. So
Yeah.
well done. You mentioned a little bit about back to school, and it's crazy. There's so many things that change in our industry, because if I go 25 years in the past, which means we're talking about dinosaurs, for many in our audience right now, they might see what 25 years ago, when like dinosaurs were roaming the earth. It seemed like a super long time ago, but in the grand scheme of things, 25 years is almost nothing. But if you go back, let's say, to the year 2000, just creating CG was insanely complicated and expensive. I mean, just let's go with education. There was no online education. There was like the brick and mortar school. If you didn't happen to go to the Gobelin or CalArts or Sheridan or some of those good schools, let's say you were in Montreal, there was options in between decent and bad schools, and that was it. Forget about great mentoring. You could have some good mentoring, but it was if you were lucky to have a good supervisor at work. In terms of hardware, it used to be CG on Silicon Graphic. You couldn't even do CG at home. Forget about the software. They were super difficult to get, rendering and all that. And in terms of distribution, you had the cinema, you had the DVD, the TV, eventually the streaming, but there was always those gatekeepers, that there was no way that you could just yourself really show your work to the world. So you fast forward to today, CG became, let's say, quote unquote, easier than ever. I mean, in terms of education, there's plenty of great, affordable online education resource out there. In terms of mentoring, that's the same thing. You can find a good mentor online for fairly affordable prices. The hardware, literally, you can do CG on a laptop. There's now free software like Blender. You can use Unreal, or there's affordable monthly or yearly subscription to other software. And in terms of distribution, you have YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Steam, if you're doing your own game. But again, we're in a point now that anyone, solo creator or a small team, can create new art and really show them at scale to the world. As we like to say, there are Zooies that we just started to release 2 weeks ago. It was a overnight success, 4 years in the making, but it just shows that, hey, if you just narrow down to what we've done with that specific animation, yes, there's been a lot of work behind, but if you just look at this, it's still just a 10-second animated loop with a cute character, and it can potentially reach millions of people. So I would say the challenge with that now is becoming like, how do you stand out in the crowd of all of the content that's going to be released? And this is where, to me, it leads to Claynosaur, because when I saw Claynosaur, I want to say 2 years ago, I might be off a little bit, but the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that's different, that's fresh, that's new. And not just the content itself, but just how it was distributed and how it felt as a package, and how this piece of internet entertainment reached me wherever I was when I saw that, probably on the bus or whatever. So I know, Nick, that you have a little presentation. So I would say to anyone that are either familiar with Claynosaur or not, giving us a little bit of an overview of what Clinosaur is, which might help us to dive a bit deeper into it and say, hey, what made it the success that it is today?
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks for the intro. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Wicked. Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know Klanos, if you don't, look up the name. The first thing you'll find is probably our Instagram or our TikTok. Um, it's a creator first brand. Built by a bunch of artists in the industry. We started this thing basically like in, I would say, about 2021 is when we really started to think about building this thing. So it's been a little bit of a journey, but it's essentially a character driven IP or brand, and we leverage, of course, animation and content, but we also leverage emerging technologies to build what we hope to be a global franchise through community, which is a big word for us, through media and through gaming, through merchandise. We essentially meet the audiences where they're at, which is a big piece of what I guess Dave is talking about, what we'll talk about here. And essentially, we also use digital collectibles to create community and glue everything together. So all the experiences that we create, whether it's the content, whether it's events in person, whether it's the games that we're starting to build, everything we do is kind of tied to digital collectibles, and I'll get into that later. But it's a really important piece of our puzzle. And we use Web3 to do that, and NFTs, which I know for the animation industry is definitely maybe a little bit of an alien word or a weird word, but it's actually incredibly empowering for artists, and it's so funny because like Dave and I have so many conversations about this. If you guys don't know the context, both of our studios are like a stone's throw away from each other. So we do have a lot of talks about these, and we love the Agora team. But here's the story. So we were a bunch of artists in 2021 that slowly came together. I recruited a bunch of friends. I was working with people at Framestore, but we had people from all over the place, whether it was like ILM or Sony or Illumination, stuff like that. And all of us kind of had these like big dreams of building a brand for ourselves. We were always doing it, which I'm sure a lot of people here can relate. We were always doing it for the big guys or for other companies without much control, but above everything else, without much reward, for the artists. The thing about building brands for other companies, or even attempting to build a brand for yourself, is very rare that you hold a big piece of the pie for yourself. Or your own studio. Oftentimes, the percentages and everything else is really, really small. Um, and so that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to build a brand for ourselves. We were also really like crypto curious. We were also very curious about NFTs. So a lot of us that were like super nerdy about new technology, but also big collectors, because we're animators, we collect shit all the time. Our desks are full of just random stuff. I have so many Pop Funkos, and like I have like most of the, if you guys remember, like Disney Infinity, like all the little like, the little like Darth Vaders and Lilo and Stitch. I have like those. So I'm a hoarder. And there's no reason not to do that digitally, right? And so we were asking ourselves, like, man, that's new tech. This is interesting. Of course, we were reading the news of like, you could sell digital collectibles and all that stuff. So we kind of went into what we call the trenches. We deep dove. We started collecting digitals ourselves, and we started to understand that you're creating community or pockets of community around these digital collectibles, around these brands that are formed by selling these collectibles, um, and so that's what I'm going to get into in 2022, in 2021, basically. Like our first 10,000 unit collectibles was released, and Claynosaurs was officially born. We were building this stuff for a really long time, about 7 months before we released our first collectibles. And I think the easiest way for you guys to understand this is it's a little bit like a Kickstarter campaign, or a social media campaign where you start your accounts, you start to build a community of people that are kind of curious or interested in this stuff. You show a lot of making of, you show the process of what you're building until you're ready to release your first product. And what's really cool is when you sell your first digital collectibles as an artist, or as a company, or whatever, you can monetize your early development cycle, which means that you're selling the digital collectibles, which are essentially just the characters, but you don't have to have like the whole world built. You don't have to have a huge short film or a whole pilot episode built out, right? To start actually, making money, and then you can use that money to allocate resources to the right things to grow the brand. So social media, building products, building games, all that kind of stuff. But back to the collectibles. Again, we were super nerdy. We deep dove like in the ecosystem on what was working, what wasn't. But we also looked at like stuff in the real world that was really powerful for collectors. A programmatic approach. So if anybody knows like Miffy, they do that really, really well. It's Miffy. But if you look at recently, like you can't avoid it. It's all over social media right now. But Labubu, or Pop Mart, or even Pop Vinyl, or Beanie Babies, there's very distinct collector strategies, and we wanted to create like a gamified collector's experience with our dinosaurs. So what we did is we released an initial 6 species that eventually became 9 species total for our Genesis collections. And we wanted, for the first time in history, basically, to give people the opportunity to collect different cycles, which had never been done. So what's very cool about a digital collectible, on top of the fact that you can trade it anywhere, is that it's digital. So instead of just being a physical toy that doesn't move, it can evolve over time. It could be animated. There's a lot of value add for animators there, actually, or even for from a product POV, because it can kind of like be perpetual. It doesn't have like wear and tear. It could be it can have motion, all that fun stuff, and you have a distribution network that overnight is global because it's online. And we focused on different face poses and emotions as a collectible trait. We focused on different colors. We focused on 10 like really archetype patterns that became essentially sub brands, and sub communities were created around those patterns. So now we have community members, or groups of community all over the world that are super collectors that will collect one specific trait and create a community around that, which is really, really cool. So for example, bored Rexes, like the Rexes that just look bored all the time, there's a community around that, and those are the dinosaurs that they collect. And the really cool thing about that is we can foster those call them guilds, right? Because that's a really easy thing to understand. We can foster those guilds, create events for them, or empower them to create their own events around the world, and all of that stuff creates a more airtight community. And what are we doing really? We're pre-packaging our brand with with an early fan base that is active, that is incentivized to evangelize the brand, that is having fun with it and creating memories around it. And of course, as a brand, you're able to monetize the collectibles a little bit so that you can continue to build. And there's this assumption that as you build the brand, the collectibles will see more and more value over time, just because the brand grows provenance. So there's an incentive loop there as well for those early fans, on top of all the crazy things that Web3 can offer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause there.
Nick,
Yeah, go for it.
yeah, if you come back to the previous slide, because I think that's a perfect timing to address the elephant in the room. And I know that you had the question often, but for many, NFTs are just a way too expensive JPEG or
Yeah.
MP4 or a video file. Most understand that the collectible aspect, if you have something that is physical, but when it comes to digital, why not screen capture the image, or why not just screen capture the video? And look, I also have it and I paid nothing for it.
Yeah.
Don't go too deep in the rabbit hole of the of all of the technology that is involved. But for anyone that would ask himself, what is the point? Why should I invest, let's say, $100 to have this video compared to just screen grabbing it and having on my laptop? What's the difference here?
That's such a good question. On a psychological level and just social level, if you track the history of collectibles, very easy to explain. I won't get too much into the tech other than mention that you actually own the piece. It is not just the piece of art, but that NFT, which is just a tech layer, it's like a contract, is also a digital passport. It's like a super account and an access into everything we do. And the only way to access certain things and certain reward loops that we have is to have that piece. So that's just like the technology dumbed down as best as I can. Do not underestimate the power of ownership. For example, someone that walks around with I don't know, like a Prada purse or something, right? Um, for sure, you can have black market cheap ones that cost like $5, right? That are fakes. But to certain people, having the real one actually matters. It's what it makes them feel. It's the fact that they are collectors and they actually want the real one. It's a conversation piece. It's all sorts of things. But the example of I can save the JPEG, of course you can. That's fine. I think that the best example I can give is, let's say like you flash forward 2 years into the future. And by the way, hotels already have NFTs like in their lobbies. Um, and you have like a painting from an artist that you love, right? And maybe it costs like $500. Not a crazy amount, and it's the price of what like a real print would have cost. Um, and you have that in your living room, and you have the file, and you can trade it however you want. You can you can send it to friends, whatever, but you have the actual contract that says that is the real piece. It's a layer of authentication, which, by the way, even museums don't have. In a museum environment, you have to say, yes, trust me, it's the Mona Lisa, because some professional says it is. There's no pure authentication layer. In digital, you have that, which means I don't care if you've saved it. That's great. Like, how many people take pictures of the Mona Lisa? It's like, it's good marketing for the Mona Lisa. But if you were to have the real piece, I feel something and I know I have it. And actually, I'm the only person in the world that could sell it,
Yeah.
on a secondary market.
So something that you mentioned that is super interesting is that it's the image or the video is just represent what is the digital contract
Yeah.
that is behind it. So it's almost like the car key. I mean, yes, you have the car key in your hand, but it's really the car, because if you just have the key, there's like no point of just having a key. So if we say that what you're really going for is the car, which is a digital contract, can you give specific example of someone that would buy a cleaners, or what the car would be, what they would actually get in return, more than an image or a video?
Yeah, so in the press, I'm going to get into some of that stuff, but essentially, there's so many things that you can do because it's a digital collectible. Now, at any point in time, that, like you say, it's a contract, and we can find that unit anywhere in the digital sphere, right? And it's completely transparent. So instead of tracking users, we track the collectibles themselves, and we can allocate. If you consider the collectible itself like a Claynosaur, almost like a inventory bag, like a digital inventory bag, we can send stuff to that bag, and that stuff can be tokens, which oftentimes do have a certain financial layer to it, and other companies can send tokens to that bag. We can send other digital collectibles. which for a collector is a big part of the incentive, because you hold one collectible and over time you're farming extra collectibles. Some of them are rare, some of them are not, some of them you had to be there at the right place, but we can do that. We can also token gate access such that the only way to access a certain part of our website, or the only way to access an exclusive event that we throw somewhere in the world, is by owning it. Your ticket is essentially the Claynosaur. And there's so many other things that we can do. If you log into our eShop, and you have a Claynosaur in your digital like inventory bag, then you get specific discounts. Sometimes you might be able to get a free exclusive merch piece. And right now I'm keeping it very surface level, but there's a slew of crazy things that you can do, because not only are you collecting the collectible, but because it's digital and it's decentralized and it's trackable anywhere in the world, it could receive an allocation of a multitude of rewards, and it could be used as a login.
Yeah, awesome. All right, moving on. Thanks for addressing this.
That's a little tangent. So I want to get into like Web3 as best as I can, and I know this sounds kind of like some of you guys might have heard it. Some of you guys in the animation space might be like, "Ah, NFTs." Like I've read the news. NFTs is incredibly empowering to artists, because you can, for the first time in history, digitally, you can actually sell your pieces online without needing to go through a gallery system. You can own everything, and you can keep royalties. But Web3 is just kind of a word for the next evolution of the internet. And to put it in perspective, Web 1, that was like the 1990s to 2000 roughly. That's the early internet. And for anyone that was around at that time, if you're old enough, at that time you can only view content. You could read stuff, you could search maybe Yahoo, and that's like literally all you could do. Like, it was basically a glorified Wikipedia. That was the internet. And keep in mind that it was considered a gimmick at the time. Like, nobody thought the internet, there was thought leaders that were saying the internet is not going to last, right? It's a
Yeah, it was
glorified
called the
encyclopedia.
information highway. This is
Yeah,
how
it's
we called it.
exactly. And then Web 2 came along, and Web 2 was, now you have new tools. Now you're not just reading, you can write. You can interact, you can post, you can create, you can comment, you can upload stuff. You get social media that, so this is like 2000 plus, social media starts showing up. There's MySpace, but eventually it's refined and it's Facebook, and you've got YouTube and Instagram. You can create content, you can upload it. However, all of it is centralized and controlled by a few companies. And owned by the platforms. The platforms control your data, they control identity, they control reach, which is really important for artists to consider, because you're trading one middleman for another. So anyone that's attempted to post on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube will understand at any point in time they can take your video down for no reason. Or sometimes, there might be a reason, but they don't give you a warning. The algorithms are really hard to understand, and they're not transparent. They will never reveal what the algorithms are, and they change all the time. And above all else, they basically own your data, and there's nothing you can do about it. Web3 is the next evolution of the internet, and that's one in which you can also own on the digital side of things. You can truly own digital items. You can own your identity. You can own achievements, tied to interacting with digital playgrounds like websites, and you're not just borrowing them from platforms. It kind of unlocks a new model of participation, of reward, and of creativity without needing permission from a platform. And that's the important thing. So basically, it's like ownership is recorded on a public database that no single company controls. And it's kind of like a digital ledger that anyone can verify, but no one can secretly change. And in Web 2, Facebook at any time, and it's doing it all the time, or now Meta, they can change whatever they want. Steam can do it. If you guys have ever rented a video on or bought a video on PlayStation Network or on Amazon Prime, you don't actually own that video, because tomorrow, if they decide they're not hosting that movie anymore, sorry, you were actually renting it for the period of time at which it was on the platform. Web3 will change all of that. So hopefully that was a little bit clearer. I know it's very technical, but the point is, it's just it's just a continuation of the internet with newer and better tools at our disposal to create better experiences for consumers, and creators actually. You know, like David was using the analogy of car keys. You own your car keys, and for creators like ourselves, it's extremely empowering. So our objective with Klanos was always like to pioneer new ways to empower creators like ourselves, and in the future other creators and audiences at the same time. And that was always our drive as a creator-led company. Um, like Dave was talking about, and like even Jorge mentioned yesterday, there's an issue with mainstream entertainment today. And the simple fact is that it's broken. And I know that a lot of you guys are feeling that this year, and you can feel it. The animation industry is a little bit, you know, there are weird things happening. Some of that may get fixed over time. But a big problem is actually, like Dave was saying, is the entertainment landscape is more competitive than it's ever been, and distribution is democratized. You know, you can upload things to YouTube. I think there's like 30 million hours of videos uploaded to YouTube every week, which is insane. Box office is on a downtrend. That's not just because of COVID. COVID made it happen faster, but the extinction of box office was always going to happen with the streaming bubble, because streamers, you know, it's direct to your home, and all they do is they make more and more content, and in an attempt to for you to retain, like, to keep paying for your account, right? But there's not much of a box office event, and that's going to keep going on the downtrend. Um, but above everything is like there's no barriers to content making. So like Dave was saying, it's not easy to make CG, but it's definitely easier than it was even 5 years ago. And there's like free software, and you've got kids. I think there's like a 14-year-old that was making this year and last year and the year before was making like Lego fan videos that looked like it was straight up the Lego movie, and the kid was like 14 years old. Incredible work. Um, and you can do that straight from your home. And even 12 years ago, that was really tough to do. So the barriers to entry are really small. And then you've got cell phones and all that kind of stuff. And so when 9-year-old kids can be in their basements and they can upload a video on a Friday night that will outperform Netflix's like Friday release movie, there's a little bit of a problem. And this is something we were thinking about when we built Klanos. The another analogy I can give you guys is like, how often do you sit in front of Netflix and you're just like trying to pick what you're gonna watch, and you probably spend more time picking than actually watching something. We basically have choice anxiety, and if you're gonna commit your time, usually it's a friend that's gonna say you got to watch Arcane. Like, trust me, go watch Arcane, and that's why you're gonna watch Arcane, right? Um, and and for studios, it's always a hit or miss strategy. You're investing like millions into a movie, and you don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if it's going to be sticky, and they're building movies behind the curtains. They very rarely show the process. They very rarely celebrate the creators while they're building the thing. And it's the same for AAA video games. So it's a really risky business, which is why, like Jorge was saying yesterday, they're not taking risks on new properties. They're doing more Star Wars. They're doing Marvel 976, and you're seeing less and less fresh content. The irony is audiences want more fresh content. Um, AI is of course going to make you know, the oversaturation of bad content even more prevalent, which means that fresh content is actually going to become more and more important. Um, so what we wanted to do with Klanos is kind of do a new approach on how you can go to market and how you can build an IP for yourself, leveraging new technologies, but also leveraging just a new tactic, which is community driven, which I see a lot of creators are now starting to do. You know, kudos to the Steamroller guys right now. It's incredible what they're doing. Agora as well is doing that with a lot of their social media content, which is amazing to see. You're seeing so many creators start to go into different distribution channels. So what's the first thing we did? Well, after we released our first collectibles, uh, we made our first and we like to be very transparent with the numbers. We made our first $1.3 million. And you got to imagine that for a group of artists, it was a very, very big deal. And the choice we had was to allocate that money to actually building our brand. Of course, we continued to make royalties over time. And we made another, over 3 years, $6 million of royalties. And all of that money was injected into building our studio, and doing the moves that we felt was going to grow a brand for ourselves. It's extremely empowering for artists. It's not easy, but you can imagine that what we're empowered to do is, instead of doing work for other people, and instead of taking on vendor type work, like, okay, we're going to take a chunk of a VFX movie just to make money so that we can then put that money into building our brand. We don't do any of that. We basically, we just work on Claynosaurs. And the first thing we did was social media content. That was really important. You got to meet the audiences where they're at. And we had a social media first approach because, like Dave was saying, it's way easier to take a risk on 10-second clips. Nobody has attention spans, and you got to earn the right to do long form content and hook people. So many young people today they're basically doom scrolling all the time, and they don't have a lot of attention spans. Of course, some of them will take will take some time to watch, like maybe a 30-minute episode, but for the most part, you got to get them familiar with your brand. And that was what we wanted to do. we, the great thing is, if you're doing social media for animation, you can also treat it as a test kitchen. We're kind of figuring out what works, what doesn't, what are some things about the Claynosaurs that are sticky, what are some things that people really like, and then when we kind of analyze our clips and we figure out what works, we lean heavy into it. And all of that stuff is essentially a test kitchen for us to refine the brand and to kind of inject things that are interesting, and get a bigger fan base until we're ready for longer form content. We keep everything organic and we avoid clickbait type content. Sometimes we do, we'll do like dances. We rarely do trends, but we'll do dance trends. The reason we do dance trends is because it's basically like a cameo and it's evergreen content, like a dance you can reuse for all sorts of things. So we do a lot of that stuff, but really we want to tell stories. And your job, even if you're doing fast paced content on social media, your goal is always to get people to fall in love with the characters. Your goal is not to get as many views as possible as fast as you can. It's to find your tribe. Um, and and it's gone pretty well in the last 2 years. So our accounts have gone ballistic. We've won awards next to Spider-Verse, next to Ninja Turtles, next to Riot Games and Valorant and all of those guys. And recently we just won a Webby Award, which is huge. And last year we won some Collision Awards, which was amazing. And it's been a crazy journey for the artists and for ourselves. Entertainment's non-linear, and sorry guys, I'm going fast because I see the time's running out. Entertainment's not linear, so you got to meet the fans where they're at. And what we're doing is we're building what we call a transmedia brand, and we build different pillars. We're building product, we're building media, which is the content and animation that you guys are used to. It could be comics as well, it could be all sorts of things that tell stories, and there's gaming. And the reason we do that is because a lot of kids will discover a brand somewhere. I say kids, but it's actually true for a lot of people. They'll discover a brand through one vertical, and then they'll choose to stay with that brand in other places. In the case of children, they might be playing a game, they love that brand, and then they're not allowed to play the game because they spent too many hours on it. What do they do next? They go on YouTube and they watch stuff about that game, or they watch episodes about that brand, or they watch streamers. If and then when they're not allowed screen time, then what do? They'll interact with physicals. What we're doing is we're combining all those verticals together and we're gluing them with digital experiences along the way. Um, we're now working with Gameloft, which has been really really cool, and we're making a mobile game, and a lot of that is tied to our entire ecosystem. So if you collect our, so we did some. So what's really cool is actually all of those dinos in that scene is they're some of our collectors and some of our community members online. Oftentimes we look at like their personalities and we try to inject that in the characters, but it was really special for like key collectors to have their dinosaur show up on content, and we can do that's another really fun value prop for NFTs. Of course, we do plushies, we do physical products, but they all have digital loops, so we can blend the physical and the digital worlds into a really fun experience. And you can collect more stuff by collecting physical products, or you can extend the life cycle of a physical product because now you have other experiences tied to it and other collectibles and things like that. um, we recently we kind of revealed that we're finally working on our TV show, so now we're ready for long form content. As
Mhm.
artists, we've accrued a lot of leverage for ourselves, and we've been very fortunate in that we've been approached by so many companies that have been looking at this stuff and very impressed. And we'll be announcing the partners either end of next week or the week after that. What's really exciting for us, um, we've been working on artwork for 3 years and trying to figure out what the world building would look like. And one of the things that we do is we're extremely transparent with that stuff. We post making of content. A lot of it's on Twitter or inside our Discord channels, but it's very rare that we like keep things hidden. Like we usually just kind of we just show everything. Like we don't care unless there's like an NDA. We what we do is we show this stuff. We show building in the open, all the artwork we're working on, and oftentimes our community and our fans will have so many like fun comments, and they might come up with some really unique ideas. And then if those ideas are amazing, we'll just leverage them. And we can also reward through the NFTs. We can reward those fans that are interacting with the brand, or that are giving us ideas. We can reward them with either other collectibles. There's a million things that we can do. um, we show a lot of which I know that Agora does as well. We show a lot of kind of like office meetings, all that kind of stuff, meetings on how we tackle social media, all the kind of fun stuff, meetings with Gameloft. We're really trying to build in the open and be as transparent as we can, so that our fans can they have early inclusion. They're there from the start. They're part of the journey, um, and they see what we're building. We have held, again, I'm going super fast. We've held events all over the world for our fans, some of which have had 1,500 attendees. And at those events, what we often do is we will provide other digital collectibles that are exclusive to that event. Those collectibles might be tradable, they might not, but the way we look at it is a few things. Primarily, it's storytelling units. So when we release a new collectible, usually we're testing a new character, or we're testing something special of the lore. We gauge what people are saying. It might be mysterious, and we always build content around it. If you guys remember, and still today, what they do, Clash of Clans and Supercell, every time they have an excuse to tell a story, they do it. Even if it's just a simple game patch, they'll release atomized content, which is what we do. And every time we release a new collectible, we're empowered to do that. So here's an example where, oh, I guess it's just a screenshot because I uploaded this wrong. If you go on YouTube, oh, no, it's not.
It's good. We just don't have the sound, but it's all good, so you can talk over it.
So we had released a digital sardine can for free.
Nice.
Sorry, we had released a sardine can and we released a lot of funny food groups, but it was an exclusive collectible for very specific attendees of an event we had in Lisbon. And that eventually that sardine can became it attracted the dactyls, and so we created content around that. And sorry, I see there's 15 minutes or maybe less now to submit, so I know it's scary. um, and so the fun part is those collectibles become modular storytelling units and give us an excuse to build content, but provide the users or the diehard collectors with extra collectibles. And because it's in Web3 and it's on chain, you're not just writing their user journey. It's preserved and it's completely transparent. It's kind of like the SeaGraph RenderMan teapot, but on absolute steroids. So I'm going to speed through this part. How do we leverage NFTs in a really interesting way? Well, right now we've just released our beta version of the achievement system. Over time, that engine will grow, but it has many verticals. It can reward users for the way in which they collect. It could reward users in the way for the way in which they interact with our gaming ecosystem. So your classic gaming achievements, but it also rewards users for the way in which they create user-generated content or content for a brand. And that's coming up really soon. Of course, we'll be leveraging certain APIs, things like YouTube and Instagram. But the point is, if you're creating content for a brand, so if you're an animator and you have access to our rigs and you're creating content online, we can reward you with exclusive badges that are soulbound that eventually turn into collectibles. We can reward you with tokens, with things like that. In the future, there's so much that we can do. And so it kind of creates this like collector's universe, but it also creates an engine for participation for the fans that do want to participate and get points for that participation. And the badges that you get, because they have a Web3 layer, they're digital mementos. So they preserve that moment in time. It's kind of like if you guys used to like check in on Facebook, like, hey, I just checked in, I'm at this airport. Only that is like, it's on chain and it's it can never be changed, and so forth. I think I'm gonna basically stop there because maybe there's gonna be questions. We are about to expand soon with the new characters. It's how we build collectibles. We design everything, concept art, all that kind of stuff. We look at everything from a storytelling POV. And I just wanted to say that we are building a model that can kind of recreate what worked really well for Claynosaurs, and we'd love to extend that to other creators that would love to build their brands.
Nick, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yeah. You just stopped abruptly. I was like,
oh yeah, because I was like
muted.
up there. I was like
Done?
looking at the time.
Okay. I had 25 questions, and I'll have time to go through none of them. Okay, super quickly, you talked about user content generation. Can we super rapidly talk about a new rig? Okay, so we've been working with Claynosaur, and there's a new character rigs that will be released on Agora community shortly for anyone that is interested to animate this cute little character. Nick, I give you a challenge of, you have 1 minute to describe the character and what kind of content you think that will be created with it. 1 minute.
Yeah. Let's go. So it's a baby Rex. At Annecy, we're going to be releasing all these different color SKUs and versions of this baby Rex for the students that attend our event. We have a big event at Annecy, by the way. So come see us. Yeah, it's a baby Rex, super, super cute. We'd love to see dances and evergreen type short stories with it. There's going to be an animation challenge that the Agora team is going to announce pretty soon. And so, of course, there'll be guidelines there. But for the most part, make whatever content that you see fit. And keep in mind that we're building a system for you guys to use that rig, be able to log into our achievement system. And as you make animated content, you'll be rewarded over time with certain digital collectibles and with a bunch of other reward loops in there for creators. So I'm super, super excited about that. I'm actually trying to find a picture of this thing.
Awesome. So as you're looking at a picture, there's one question that I really wanted to ask. So for anyone in the audience, I'd like, hey, I'd like also to create my own characters, my own world, and start to share and have some success on social media, because you guys have been sharing the Claynosaur and analyzed, the shit out of what is working, what is not working. What would be, let's say, the top tips that you would have in terms of what type of content to create for someone that would increase the chance that they're going to reach a broad audience rapidly in terms of content itself? What kind of character, animation, colors, whatever?
Yeah. Cute. Okay, so cute works really well, of course, and weird works really well. If you look at what Digital Circus is doing and Glitch, weird works. I would say find your voice. Um, Try not to go too long. 10 seconds is really good. Like Dave was talking about, loops are actually really powerful because if you can get the viewer to not even know that they've watched it twice, it does help the algorithm. In terms of colors, we go super scientific. So it's like if we have a song that's like a K-pop song and we do a dance, then we will actually try to figure out like what are the popular colors that really resonate with people in Korea, for example. Like we treat it like a science, but for the most part, I say bright colors work really well. Why do they work well? Because you have to realize that for people that are scrolling fast on socials, you have to hook them with a few things: visual interest, an action that happens basically in the first second, or some sort of text-based, call to action that keeps them from scrolling to the next video. So color is actually really important, and something that's just like, whoa, what is this, right? Or it gets right into the action. So I would say that focus on evergreen content. Stay away from trends. Like make people fall in love with your characters. Tell stories.
Yeah, awesome. All right, a quick one from chat. So, with the Clinosaur animated series and game already in the work, what core message or vibe do you hope audience and players walk away with after experiencing the Clinotopia?
Sorry, repeat the last part.
Yes. What core message or vibe do you hope audience and players walk away with after experiencing the Clinotopia?
Oh, I mean, the core message is that we want the content to be extremely wholesome. Like that's something. And then the core message of the company is like, you know, you you don't need the studio system. The world is changing, and you can take back control for yourselves, and you can do it. And honestly, like I remember when we started this journey, it was like the feeling felt impossible, and actually I know like it must have felt the same for you and just Agora, right?
Mhm.
And it feels impossible until it's not. And you gotta persevere, which is ironic because that's what Jorge was talking about. You just gotta be very consistent, and it's not gonna work out right away, but then at some point it will. So
Yeah,
that would be the message is you can totally do it.
yeah. And again, about the IP itself, what are you hoping that people would get the emotion of the vibe when they think about Clinosaur? Because when I think about Arcane, I have a very specific feeling in mind. When I think about
Yeah.
Jurassic Park, I do. What do you think that for Clinosaur it would be?
Yeah, I think it's definitely like wholesome and quirky. Very much like when you think of SpongeBob, you do think that. It's like it's a mix of weird. Um, at the very least, that's what we're working on for the TV show. But it's oh man, like those are dinos like I haven't seen before, right?
Mm,
Like I find people always make dinosaurs kind of the same thing, and in this case, we're trying to avoid that.
yeah. All right, everyone. 3 minutes left to submit your animation. Rapid fire. Nick, you mentioned being a fan of Jurassic Park. Is
Oh no.
Clinosaur the new incarnation of dinosaur? Is there any link between your love for dinosaurs and
Is there
Clinosaur?
any link? Of course, there's a link. Yeah, I think everybody on the team was like dinosaur nerds, and I know the Triceratops is not technically a Triceratops, and the Bronto is not technically a Bronto, but yeah, a lot of us were just everybody likes dinos, and I think that strategically we knew there was a gap in kind of reinventing IP in the dinosaur space. Jurassic World reinvigorated the franchise, but also reinvigorated kind of like that whole how kind of in demand dinosaur brands are. And we wanted something that was toyetic, but we also wanted something that speaks to like every culture. Um, People like you grow up and you're fascinated by them, and then we wanted to create like a collectible version of dinos, which we hadn't seen. Like we were asking ourselves, like digitally, like what if you could do what Funko Pop did, or like even Cabbage Patch Kids or Pop Mart, but you do it for dinosaurs.
Awesome. Okay, another rapid fire. Favorite pumpkin?
So okay, so anybody that doesn't know, this is for sure a community member asking. For anybody that doesn't know, that's our
Can you bring
second.
them back? Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you had the design in the presentation, right?
yeah. Let me show you guys something even cooler. So I'm gonna look this up. And I'm gonna share my screen. But essentially, these are our new collectibles. And am I in the right folders? It's gonna be the new kind of like master expansion that we have, and these are basically our Pokemon type characters. And I would say this is one of my favorites. Is the little manta ray, and the way he or she is animated is so cute. Um, I don't have it easy access on this computer. I'd have to go through Shotgun, but they're really adorable. And so we have 25,000 of these collectibles about to be released on, I believe it's Friday actually. And I know I gave you some packs to give
Yep.
out,
Yep.
Dave Agora, but um, this would be one of my favorites because it's just too damn cute. But they're all super cute. They're very like Pokemon-esque, and these are the Popkins.
Super cute. What about your original collection? Favorite Klino?
Oh my god, I'm a Rex guy. It's okay. Wait, that's a lie. Dinos overall, I always loved Raptors, but with the Klano collection, I think it's Rex, and I really like the Stegos.
Favorite skin or color or anyone one specifically that stands out to you?
I think Toxic is just is one of my favorite skins. I collect Jurassic skins just because it's called Jurassic. I like what it looks like, and it's kind of like the classic dinosaur skin. But I do
Yeah,
love Toxic, which is
yeah,
actually similar to what you guys are seeing here in the Popkin skins.
awesome. All right, let's go a little bit over if you have a few more minutes as
Oh
people are
yeah.
scrambling
I know
to.
people are posting, so yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Sunday. I can stick around. It's fine.
Exactly. There's a lot of people like, God, why is my submission not working? So let's go for a few more minutes to entertain the crowd. Super selfish question. You mentioned something that is very interesting that we're doing as well, which is, sharing as you go. And this is kind of against what most studios are doing, which is keep everything completely hidden. And the reason was always because when you're going to do your marketing, you want to show something that has never been seen before, so you're going to maximize the view of the audience. And then so basically a super rigid and clear marketing strategy that is not at all in the hands of the creators. And what we're doing and you're doing as well is more like, no, let's just share as we go, and just to create more and more interest into what we're doing. What was the rationale for you guys to do it this way? Was it just a happy accident, or was a very conscious decision to do it, and why did you chose this approach?
Super conscious. I think the fear of studios is a few things. Like you say, they don't want to hurt the end game marketing campaign. The irony is they depend so much on that marketing campaign, which oftentimes is costs the same amount of money as the as the making of budget. Um, and push marketing doesn't actually work. And that was actually the inspiration. Is push marketing doesn't work anymore. Um, I drew a lot of inspiration from. I grew up with DVDs and Blu-ray, and I was obsessed with making ofs. And somewhere along the line, they stopped doing it. Even the making ofs became kind of just weird and like usually like a 2-minute thing when it used to be like 30-minute making of you know, videos. And I remember being obsessed with books on Star Wars and how they made those movies and whatever. But if you remember Lord, for anyone that was there when they were making Lord of the Rings or before they
Oh
had
yeah,
released the Lord of the Rings movies,
I had
yeah,
exactly this example in mind. I was
the One
like,
Ring got that. Yeah. So one of the first times this was, and the only times this was ever done historically correctly, and probably one of the reasons that Lord of the Rings worked the way it did because at the time fantasy movies were not doing well. Like, you know, whatever, they weren't doing that well. But Peter Jackson was signing up to do the 3 movies for Lord of the Rings, and Weta Digital was doing it, and nobody knew those guys, and nobody really knew Peter Jackson. And there was a website called theonering.net, and he had these production journals where a few times per week he would upload, or they would upload, literally like footage from on set, and you would get to know Vigo better. You would get to know how the actor that does Aragorn loved the horses so much on set that he adopted both of them. You would get to see how they were making the armor. You were so invested in the people that were making the movie that you actually cared less about the movie itself, and you went to go see the movie to support that team. But then when you watched the movie, you were so invested in the movie because you felt like it was already family. Like, it was a weird feeling. This lasted like 2 years. Like, it was insane. They've never done this ever again. And the fact that he got the green light to be so transparent, like, I remember when they were making Golem, and Andy Serkis was kind of like, was nobody knew who Andy was at the time, and they made this huge multi-part series and video showing Andy in the suit and acting like a frog and like hurting himself in the river and chasing a fish that wasn't there. And man, like, that idea of building in the open was so powerful that we were like, why shouldn't you do it that way? There's nothing wrong with revealing stuff people know is happening anyways. You're world building, you're creating new buildings, new characters, all that kind of stuff. You're showing what's life like at the office. And part of the other fear from it's it's also from, I think it's you're afraid to, of course, like, you don't want to ruin the marketing campaign, but you also don't want people to copycat you. And we don't really care about that. Like, sometimes we'll show storyboards of our reels, and so we get asked this question a lot. It's like, aren't you afraid someone else is going to make that video before you do? And we're like, so what? Like, they won't execute it as best we can. We've already posted the storyboard online, so even if someone beat us to the animation of it, it's like, we can always say, well, look, ours was online before. But it really doesn't matter much to us. The only times we don't show something is if we're working with a partner, or there's an actual surprise that's really fun that we don't want to ruin. Aside from that, sure, copycat us. Like,
Yeah.
we have confidence in our ability to execute better.
Yeah, I remember this Lord of the Ring. I never read the book, never, let's say, was a fan of medieval, or let's say this kind of universe. But those making of that were released made me kind of fall in love with the story of the cast and just the filmmaking of this project. And I was eager to go and watch it on cinema, because at that point it's been at least a year that I was fed with the story. And I know that we didn't had time to cover anything about AI, but I believe that more and more the story and the people behind the art are going to be part of the story itself, and this is what is going to provide value to any new IP that is created. It's not just going to be about the character and the world anymore. It's going to be a big part of it, but another big part of it is, where is it coming from? Who's working on those? Who are those people that are creating this thing that I find appealing? And that's something that AI is not going to replace. What is the story of the real artist that actually did this, which is going to be way more a big layer of what it's interesting when there's a sea of content that is distributed.
100% human made is going to be a thing. AI is something, it's coming. We can't avoid it. I think it's understanding how to exist within that and how to leverage it in the ways that make sense. But this idea of human made is going to be so powerful, and it's always very cyclical. I know you and I, we were talking about this, the analogy of, like, even restaurants. Like, at some point it was all like franchises and McDonald's and Chipotle's and whatever, and or like over the top like Michelin clean restaurants, and now it's back to like the rustic, like human kind of like indie type restaurants that people like to go to. I know it's maybe a weird analogy, but I think there's some parallels there.
No, totally. I see great restaurants that no one is there, and others that are filled every night. And it's the story of what people think about when they think about this restaurant that is actually filling the place. Nick, that was awesome. Thanks for being very generous with your time on a Sunday morning, afternoon, like we are. We could have
Super happy.
continued for 2 more hours. So
yeah, that's my bad.
yeah. No, I could have continued for sure. Yeah, and I'm glad that we showed a little bit of the let's say behind the curtain of Cleanosaur to our audience here. The submission. So thanks a lot, Nick, and I'll know that we'll see each other pretty soon. And congrats again for all the success of Cleanosaurs, and I know that the future is pretty bright as well. So that's we're going to continue to share what is going on this side as we go.
Oh my God, submissions are closed. I got nervous.
Yes, yeah, closed.
Dude, thanks for having me. I'm probably seeing you Thursday, and super stoked to do this, and I'll definitely do it again and keep it as concise as possible, which is basically impossible for me. And yeah. Good luck, everybody, with your submissions. It's a crazy thing to do this for 24 hours. I'm stoked to see what you guys come up with, because it's not a lot of time to do a full shot, but a really good exercise on keeping things concise.
Yep. Thanks, Nick. And as Nick briefly mentioned, stay tuned, because there's definitely a Kleno that will be accessible to animators, and definitely another AnimChallenge with it. So we're going to announce this shortly. All right, Nick, I'm going to let you go. Thanks again for showing up. And I think we have Brent and Vincent that are going to come back to close this 24 hours. There we go. Look at this. Perfect timing.
Here we go. Like old times.
Yep. All right. So I'm now going to go enjoy the rest of the show, and good luck. And everyone go sleep now. Can all be proud of what you've accomplished in the last 24 hours.
Bye, David.
Later, David.
Bye-bye.
So here we are at the finish line. How are we feeling about it?
How's everybody do? So, I mean, I see how everybody's doing in the Discord. That was a very intense final 30 minutes of people trying to get their shots in on time. Somebody's Maya just wouldn't let the controls disappear. For some people, their textures completely disappeared, because it always happens 10 minutes before the deadline.
Of course.
For somebody's After Effects wouldn't open. But it only doesn't open when you need to split something desperately in 10 minutes. So,
yes,
on theme and on brand for every 24-hour animation challenge.
Yep. Well, just animation in general, I think. If it's not an animation challenge, it's a deadline for work or for your class assignment, whatever it might be. But it, disaster tends to strike at the 11th hour. So the only thing you can do is sort of find ways of navigating it and having backup plans and trying your very, very, very best to not wait until the 11th hour. But when you only have 24 hours, you're going to try to use all 24 of them, right? Makes sense.
We do recommend, if you can get it like 15 minutes before the deadline, you get a gold star for that. Yeah. And people are asking, will there be a confirmation email? There's not going to be a confirmation email for your submission. But if you're on the website and if you go to manage your submission, and if you see the video there, if it plays fine, then you should be in. Right now, you're not going to be able to see everybody else's submission on the website, although you can absolutely post your submission on social media. Even before the winners are announced, you can post on social media. Just tag us, pretty please. We'd like to see it on socials, and possibly share it to our accounts. So yeah, I don't like, Brent, how do we close something like this?
It always feels like like we've been through this before. Like it's like we get to the finish line, and it almost feels like the only thing that could possibly do it justice is if we had like a fireworks display behind us and like some giant like champagne popping ceremony. Well, we got the bean jar. That's something. That's something. It's more than we had the last time. But yeah, if you got all the way through and you were able to submit, Congratulations, you've just done something pretty awesome. So take a minute to reward yourself for a lot of hard work and getting something done that was literally 24 hours ago felt like an impossible mountain, probably to a lot of you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you did something awesome, and just recognize yourself for that. That's pretty cool. 24 hours ago you did not have something, and now you do. Now, for those who did have trouble submitting, hopefully it gets sorted. Hopefully there's some sort of resolution to it. But there's always going to be some. Quick shout out to those. I mean, 2 hours ago, I think you already had, 130, submissions. So there were some keeners out there that really did proactively say, you know what, I'm not going to wait till the 11th hour. I'm going to put it in way ahead of time to make sure that I don't have to get caught up in that drama tornado of the 11th hour.
I think
so
I really
congratulations for those who were able to do that.
I really enjoyed the
easy.
dichotomy of mankind where some people got in super early, and then another person pinged us in the Discord an hour before the deadline saying they were just starting now.
Just starting. That's awesome.
So they took a 24-hour Ultimate Anim Challenge. I was like, nah, that's too easy. What if 1/24th of that time? What if? So
I like your style. Very curious to see that submission. Yeah. So
so yeah, I think bean jar. I think to close it out, like Brent said, congratulations to everybody. And what was really great is so many people in the Discord were talking about how, like, whether you win something or you don't win something, everybody had fun, everybody learned something, and it was a good experience. So, like, pat yourself on the back for taking this on and seeing it through and committing to it, because that's pretty cool.
Yep, absolutely. And there's probably some of you out there that really kind of had second thoughts about doing it, and you decided to do it, and now here you are, you did it. And so that's probably, I think the key is to try to kind of leverage that vibe that you just created there, and build some momentum and continue doing and continue producing and continue working, especially because I know a lot of people who join this challenge are just trying to put themselves out there and generating content, because you're going to get better by doing it. So nice work.
Yeah. So a bit of information, because I'm sure everybody is curious, when are we going to know the winners? So with all the submissions in, the winners are going to be announced on June 9th. At the moment, community voting for crowd favorite is not open yet, and it's going to open on May 26th. For community favorite, that's determined by, the most likes, thumbs up received on the website. So we'll send out information about that when voting is open. And I don't know if we're going to be doing like a watch party or some little ceremony like that, but June 9th is when we'll find out who has won.
Oh, man.
In the meantime,
suspense.
I think y'all should go sleep or go outside and touch grass or take a shower or eat some food or stare at a wall or I don't know, just don't look at a computer screen for a bit, just at least a hot bit. For anybody new here, because I know that we have a lot of new people who came to Agora Community Anim Challenge because of this challenge, a short spiel on what we do. I will put on my used car salesman jacket now. So what is Agora Community? What is Anim Challenge? Anim Challenge has been going for about 4 or 5 years now. We've had monthly challenges. We've had mini challenges. We have 24-hour Ultimate Anim Challenges. And our goal is to give people a fun place to push their skills and learn together and get some friendly competition in and maybe win some cool stuff. So right now, what we've been doing with Anim Challenge is after the 24-hour Ultimate Anim Challenge, we're going to be going back to some mini challenges. And those challenges involve our mentors. They will give you an assignment. You have 2 weeks to animate the assignment. And everybody's given the same assignment, whether it's a walk cycle or hand animation, really focused on giving you something short and actionable to level up and improve quickly. So manageable, not like you have to animate, like a 20-second thesis shot, in 2 weeks or something. With the mini challenges, they were super fun. They're in our Discord. Everybody's really involved. People give each other feedback, super collaborative. And then for the rest of Agora Community, our focus with Agora Community is to make animation education, art education, as accessible to as many people as possible, and build a community where people can learn together and grow together and connect with other artists. For the community, we have the involvement of, of course, your peers, professional artists, and also mentors who are frequently in our Discord doing free either casual Q&A sessions, workshops, feedback sessions, all that sort of stuff. We have people from Agora Studio. We have Alexi Weneroy. We have, a bunch of cool people, Ilse Zamripa, Harvey Newman, all those sorts of guys. And it really is your team of, peers, friends, professionals, and mentors to help you grow as artists. So if you showed up to the 24-hour Ultimate Anim Challenge and was like, these guys are pretty cool, I want to keep hanging out with them, you should go to our Discord server, go to our website, and, we'll have plenty more stuff there for you. We also have free courses on our website built by industry professionals, many of them built by the senior artists at Agora Studio themselves. We have a lot of live events. We have free assets. We have the Agora original characters. We have so much to offer. So if that sounds cool to any of you guys in chat, we'd love to have you in the community and see you back for more of this cool stuff. I think to close it up, I would again like to give a shout out to the sponsors and then also the team behind this event. So again, thank you to the sponsors of the event: Agora Studio, Wacom, Rococo, TV Paint, The Art of Aaron Blaze, Sticky Bones, Animal Warriors, Animbot, Wonderworld Studios, Ramon Arengo. And then thank you very much to the entire team that made this possible, starting first with the Agora Community Management Team of Tabitha Liu, Lacey Vernon, Leah Fisher, Jackson Blonde, David Hubert, Scott Hewitt, the artist team of one person, so I guess team of one person, of Shelby De La Cruz. She did all the really cool graphics that you saw on the stream today and did a lot of the cool designs for the merch in the merch pack. Yes,
Did she do the background design that we see right now?
No, that one was actually one other artist. It was the little characters
love
like hydrate or dihydrate, or, like you got this, or unshrimp yourself. She made those really cute overlays.
Oh, man.
So really great work, Shelby. I don't know if you're watching, but hi. And thank you to the Agora Studio web dev team who put in a ton of work to get the website ready to go for this challenge and was also on standby to help us as the website broke at a couple points as people flooded the website. So thank you guys. And then very special thanks to the moderators behind the stream today who kept everything going, who kept things going with the guests, helping people in the Discord. Some of you may recognize them from the community, and that is Age of the J, Karina Henriksen, Yusuf Aldabous, Jackson Bolan, Kane Simmons, Tabitha Liu, Leah Fisher, and Scott Hewitt. And a final thank you to all the fantastic guests that we had on stream who took their time out of their weekend to share some really cool stuff with us. And a final thank you to all of you guys who participated, who put yourselves out there and made something cool in 24 hours and shared it with the world. So I think that's it.
A lot of thanks. A lot of work. Yeah. Stick around.
One more thing though. Actually, wait, one more thing. I forgot one more thing. Where are they? Oh no. Thank you to the host, Brent.
Oh.
Me, David, Scott, Alejandro Alvarez, and Lana Baczynski. Other cool people too. So
pretty cool. Well, yeah, I guess we're signing off. I very much look forward to seeing the results. So I guess we will probably I know we'll just have to wait with bated breath for a few weeks until we get to was it June 9th you said?
June 9th.
June 9th. Okay, well, clock is ticking. Get some rest in the meantime and stay animated as usual. Join some more challenges. Do whatever you got to do. Talk to you soon.
Bye.